Happy to have you all here at Sustainable San Mateo County's Advocacy Workshop. We're glad that you could join us for this hour that's going to be focused on how you can make a difference in your local community through effective public comment. I'm Sarah Hubbard, Executive Director of Sustainable San Mateo County. ¿Hay alguien presente que necesita traducción en español? Por favor, levanta la mano. I don't see anyone here who's requesting Spanish translation, so we'll move on. So let's kick things off by having each of you answer a few poll questions. This will help us get to understand our audience better. And I think Jill will start that poll. So let us know which of the following describes you, whether you're a high school or college student, community member, city staff or elected, or nonprofit staff or volunteer. Tell us how you heard about the event. And also whether you've taken any of the following advocacy-related actions. We'll give you a few minutes to read through those and answer, and then share out the results with our
Hi, Sarah.
coaches.
Just FYI, it only went to where did you hear about the event? There wasn't any other questions.
You may need to scroll.
I did, and
through it.
When I scrolled it just like closed it.
Oh, that's really strange. I'm sorry.
Could you
about
reopen that?
Jill, are you able to?
I don't know if
close
I need
and
to
reopen.
end it. Let me see if I can go out. Did that work?
No.
No.
Are the rest of you able to see the other questions?
Yeah.
Can you just post it on the chat, and then I'll answer it on the chat.
Okay, that would be great. You can. It looks like we have answers from most other people, and it appears that actually, Jill, do you want to share the results? We've got mostly community members, a few city staff or elected officials, and a few nonprofit staff and volunteers. A nice mix. Folks heard about us mostly through the newsletter, so good to know that that's reaching you and you guys are opening it, as well as friends, social media, variety of ways. And this appears to be a very engaged group where the majority of you, more than 50%, have written to local governments, met with officials, attended meetings, or spoken at local government, local meetings. And you have a diverse range of interests as well. Great. Well, thank you so much for sharing a little bit about you. So tonight's agenda includes a brief introduction to Sustainable San Mateo County. We'll highlight the components of an effective public comment, and then we'll have you join a breakout room to work with a coach on your public comment for the topic of your choice. And then finally, we'll reconvene as a group and share out any lessons learned and progress made. To start, I'd like to recognize this workshop's sponsor, Peninsula Clean Energy. Simply put, PCE is our local community-led electricity provider. They source the clean, carbon-free power for our residents and businesses, which is delivered through PG&E transmission lines and billed through PG&E. PCE has been a really strong supporter of building electrification efforts. Now we'll add a link in the chat for PCE's rebate finder, which provides up-to-date information on the financial help that's available to residents to electrify their homes. And while their programs support building electrification throughout the county, it's really your voices that help create the political will that's needed for cities to adopt REACH codes and other sustainability policies. So today's workshop is about learning how to use your story to drive that local change, not just for building electrification, but for the many topics that support a sustainable county. So first, I'm going to share just a little bit about SSMC. We're a nonprofit organization that was formed more than 30 years ago to ensure that the region protects the environment while it supports an equitable and thriving economy. These three E's, the environment, the economy, and social equity, are at the core of SSMC's mission and vision. We have several programs that inform and inspire local communities to act. Our sustainability dashboard provides more than 100 sustainability metrics across 12 topics to help see where we've made progress over time and where we're falling behind. Our Sustainability Ideas Bank showcases effective policies and programs that address sustainability challenges. And our annual indicators report takes a deep dive into one topic each year with an overview of the relevant data points and recommended actions. For 27 years now, our annual Sustainability and Green Building Awards have highlighted local achievements and inspired community action. And finally, we do focus on advocacy. Our online webinars and roundtable discussions are a few of the ways we advocate for sustainability, and training people like you to effectively advocate for the things you care about is one of our top priorities. Now, as a reminder, advocacy includes a range of activities done in support of a cause or policy. Educating others and increasing their awareness of an issue or need is one form of advocacy. Another includes community engagement, such as attending and speaking at meetings, sending letters to educate and urge action, and forming groups in support of your issue. And finally, advocacy can include drafting policy proposals and meeting with officials. Tonight, we're going to practice how to make an effective public comment during a city council, school board, or other government agency meeting. So before we go into breakout sessions to develop an effective public comment, I want to review some of the tips we heard in our advocacy webinar that we held 2 weeks ago, as well as the tips we shared on SSMC's 60-second Climate Champion Advocacy template. So these tips apply to all kinds of government meetings. Along with the City Council meetings, consider making a comment at a planning or a sustainability commission meeting, because those bodies really provide the formal recommendations that council members rely on. These tips can also be adapted if you're going to write an email to send to your local officials. So first, build relationships with council members. Don't let your first interaction with a council member be at the podium. Reach out for one-on-one meetings or coffee to share your priorities. Building rapport early turns you from a random speaker into a trusted resource that they can call on when they have questions. Also, be sure to follow the Brown Act. The Brown Act is a California law that ensures local government business is conducted transparently by requiring meetings to be open, public, and noticed in advance. Its core purpose is to guarantee that the public has the right to attend, observe, and participate in the decision-making process at their local officials. While you can meet individually with council members, these meetings must not be used to coordinate votes or inform council members of how others are expected to vote. Keeping your conversations independent protects the council from legal Brown Act violations and ensures that your advocacy doesn't accidentally void a future decision. So demonstrate an awareness of the bigger picture. Council members deal with competing priorities like budget constraints and staff capacity. Showing that you understand how your proposal fits into the city's broader goals makes your ask a little more realistic and persuasive. Now know your window of opportunity. An agenda item comment can be used to influence a specific vote that's happening that night, whereas an open or general comment is useful for new issues on the to put new issues on the council's radar or build momentum for a topic that isn't yet scheduled for a vote. And finally, public comment isn't a time for Q&A, so manage your expectations at the podium. Under the Brown Act, the council cannot engage in a back and forth debate or answer questions during public comment. So treat your time more like a deposition where you provide testimony rather than a conversation to avoid frustration when council members don't respond immediately. In case you weren't able to attend the May 6th webinar, we will include a link to the recording in a follow-up email after this workshop. So here are the main elements of a public comment, as listed in that 60-second Climate Champion advocacy template that we sent to you earlier. So first, start with the hook. Introduce yourself. Tell them how you're connected to the community. Why should they listen to you? It can be helpful to start thanking them for the first time or for their time and for considering the issue at hand or previous actions that they've taken and recognize their work. Next, be clear and concise about what it is you're concerned about and why. It's great to include a data point that supports your perspective. Even better is to share a personal story about how the issue impacts you or your community. Council members may hear data, but they remember stories. So, for example, describe how a policy affects your specific neighborhood or your children's health. Finally, give them clear action to take. Make a specific ask. In our webinar last week, the panel shared, don't just say something general like protect the environment. Say, I want the council to vote yes on the building electrification ordinance tonight. A few other points to keep in mind that we heard about during the last webinar are to keep it short. Usually you've only got 2 minutes, sometimes as little as 1 minute. Ending before your time is up shows consideration and respect for their time. If you can't make it to the meeting, email your comment to the council members beforehand or share it through the city's online portal. And while it's okay to read from your phone, make it sound as personal as possible. You don't want to sound like you're reading someone else's words. And beyond the actual public comment, there are a couple of other tips we heard during the webinar that can help you make your comment even more effective. If you can, like developing relationships with council members, you can go to their office hours or attend other council meetings. So it builds trust and credibility as council members will start to recognize you as a serious stakeholder rather than a one-time commenter. And finally, thank you notes matter. Advocacy is a long game. Sending a thank you to an official after a vote, even when it didn't go your way, keeps the door open for the next issue. So tonight, we've invited 4 coaches to work with you on drafting and practicing your public comments. They are all very experienced and knowledgeable about how citizens and community members can influence local policy. And I'll introduce each very briefly, and then we're going to head into the breakout rooms for you to work on your public comment. So first up is Mitch Slomiak, who's an experienced advocate and a founding leader and longtime co-chair of Menlo Park's Green Ribbon Citizens Committee. And he co-founded Menlo Spark. He also served on Menlo Park's Environmental Quality Commission from 2008 to 2015, including 2 terms as chair, with a primary focus on developing and supporting the city's climate action plan. Next up, we've got Robert Whitehair, who's an advocate for regenerative living and a retired facilities executive. Working with other climate advocates, he's active in helping Peninsula governments adopt building electrification codes and new standards to eliminate gas from our homes, just as he and his wife Terry have done for their own home. He is a past vice chair of SSMC and a certified electrification coach. Next, we have Jeff Schmidt, who is a council member in the city of Menlo Park and a board member for several local organizations, including Canopy, a community forestry nonprofit, Rethink Waste, a regional recycling and sustainability agency, and Commute.org, a sustainable transportation joint powers authority agency. Previously, he was the chair of Menlo Park's Environmental Quality Commission and worked on policies and programs for environmental protection, water and energy conservation, the urban canopy, and sustainability. And last but not least, we have Terry Nagel, who is a veteran journalist and now serves as board chair for SSMC. She was elected to the Burlingame City Council in 2003 and served for 12 years, including 3 terms as mayor. During her first term as mayor, she appointed a Green Ribbon Task Force that created the city's first climate action plan. She also helped form the Citizens Environmental Council of Burlingame and the Burlingame Neighborhood Network, and continues to serve on their boards. So here are our breakout room instructions, which we will put in the chat. So in the breakout rooms, you'll have 30 minutes, and we'll want you to start with introductions, and then one at a time, talk through the issue that you're advocating for. If you've already drafted a public comment, you can share that. The coach in your room will provide some feedback on your comment or guidance for how you can draft that comment and what to include. When we return to the main room, coaches will share out the highlights, and time permitting, we'll also have a brief question and answer. I think everyone's back in the big room now. I hope you learned a lot about making public comment and had the chance to practice yours. So coaches, I would like to now ask you guys to share some of the highlights of the discussion and feedback from the breakout room. And then after each of the coaches shares a little bit, we'll ask anyone who's ready to share their public comment if they'd like to get some practice. And time permitting, we'll have a little bit of Q&A before we wrap things up. Let's see. I know, so Jeff and Robert, you guys were in the same room. Does one of you guys want to share some highlights? Oh, Robert, you are muted.
Indeed, I was. Thank you. That's me on the big screen. Jeff and I are going to split it up. I'm going to talk about what Remy Tan issue he brought up, which is something I was not aware of, called transfer development rights. It has to do in Pacifica. There's quite a bit of land that sits on the coast that's subject to teetering over the cliff, or on the hillside that's subject to collapse. And there's a way of transferring that rights to another property owner so that the other property owner can build more stuff on their property, and the piece of property that's on the hillside or on the cliff can stay as open space. And the thing we learned on that is understand as much as you can about it first. And then Jeff has some good ideas about going to council and developing a relationship, but don't start with council perhaps. Maybe start with the planning commission and ask, where they are, and maybe schedule a meeting with that planning staff, and maybe even give the presentation that you're going to get to city council and kind of try it out and say, this is what I'd like to do. I'd like Pacifica to take up the transfer development right issue for open space, and then have a conversation, and then maybe later go to a council meeting and bring it up. But every city is different. There's no one size fits all. So it's just a matter of in your city finding out who the players are. And we actually gave them some names of people to talk to. That was very helpful to Remy. So it was a good discussion, and I think we helped out Remy. And I'm going to stay tuned to what he learns. Thank you. I'm complete.
That's great. Thank you, Robert. Yeah, I think that's a great point that not all council members will have the same level of information about a particular topic, and that by going to a staff member or a committee first, you can have a better understanding of where the council is at and how familiar they are with maybe a technical issue.
And when I have one quick thing, they have a new staff, new city manager, and a whole bunch of new people. So it's good just to start to learn who they are. Just don't assume. I would say that for anybody, but in his case, he's going to have to do a lot of homework.
Yeah. So the brief moment that I popped in, I heard that Remy is on his way to a meeting. So if he needs to leave the call, I just want to say thank you for attending. Yeah, still here for now. Did you have anything to add, Remy, before you leave? You're on mute. Oh, you're muted, Remy.
So I'm actually headed to the Open Space Committee meeting. So I'm actually, if the deputy community development director is there, who's our liaison, I'm gonna try to bring it up with after the meeting or something. And we're actually going to talk about, that as some new items too in the committee meeting.
Great. This is advocacy in action. Like live. Perfect. Well, please follow up with how things go. We'd love to hear.
Okay, well, yeah, and I know Robert from PCE, so I can follow up.
Yeah, I was going to say, Remy, you're on the commission though, or you're on the
Yeah.
committee, so you're not doing
Yeah,
public
oh, hi.
speaking. You're actually on the. You're
I'm on the Open Space Committee.
Yeah,
Got it.
Yeah.
it's a very small
Got
town.
it.
Yes. Good seeing another Pacifican there. Great.
Very good. Terry and Mitch, do you guys have any comments on your breakout room?
Well, I will just kick off by saying Cindy already has a wonderful presentation that she could give, I think, the way it is. And she, got right to the point. We did ask her a few questions about, did you do some research on what's already been done on the topic? And, as opposed to what you're asking for, is that something entirely new? And she asked how you actually get to know the council members. What is the process? And I suggested sending an individual email to a council member and suggesting that you get together for coffee. As Remy noted, you could just go to a council meeting, which is also a great way to get to know the council members. And during a break or at the end, you could go up and just say, hey, I'd really like to talk to you about this. When can we get together?
Great.
Add anything, Mitch?
And we were also having some conversation, which I would call a little more strategic conversation about what it looks like to be in it for the long term and be relational. Everything from always being respectful at council meetings and not surprising allies with critical comments. It's fine to make critical comments, but respect the relationship and let people know, whether it's a staff member or council or board or commission member, if it's someone you're in relationship with. And and just I liked all of the different sustainable San Mateo County practices around that too, because it's not, if all one does is shows up once and talks at a meeting, it's not all that effective necessarily. But if one is in it for the long run and getting to know the people, then there's room for an ongoing dialogue and really having significant influence.
Yeah, and Cindy had another good tip too, which was start off with a compliment about,
Yes.
hey, you're doing a great job on this, but the renters are really being left out of some of these PCE programs, and I'd like to see X, Y, Z.
Yep.
Great. Thanks so much. We just have a handful of participants still on the call, so we've got a minute or two if any of you guys want to.
Oh, Jeff has some great comments about.
Yeah, we divided up. Sarah, if that's okay. Robert did one, and I did the other. I'm just really quick.
Great.
But yeah, so Bruce was coming forward with a couple of the rules for the Bay Area Air Quality District 9.4, 9.6. In a nutshell, 9.4 is about emissions from furnaces. 9.6 is residential water heating. Won't bore you with all the details. One thing that I would say, and we didn't really talk about this, but I'm a climate guy. I think I've been in it for a little while now. But there's so much coming at council members and remembering the numbers and the details and the this is that and up is down and left is right sometimes with all the complexity. So spending a little time, going, oh, and by the way, 9.4 is this, 9.6 is this. Here's what the air quality, just reminding council, because even if you're really in the subject matter, there's so much that's coming that it's easy to get it all kind of jumbled up, particularly with legislation and legislative numbers. Sometimes that's one that I particularly stumble over, and it changes every year. So that's one thing. But we talked about, really with those things, understanding what the through line of the arguments are. And with these in particular, it's about expense. So really kind of coming up with what are the counterpoints to the expense of making these conversions and having a really solid story there. And then the other problem when you watch the tape is it's all these edge cases. People who are in opposition will often say, well, my special exception is a reason why you should throw the whole baby out with the whole bathwater. And I will say that particularly annoys me because three people standing up to throw out a rule that benefits 30,000 people is not the way to govern. So understanding what those edge cases are and having a quick and ready response is often really useful, and council members will hopefully respond to that. Not all of them do. Some of them like to use the edge cases to also form opposition. And then the last point was I think the numbers that we said on the last meeting was 10 supporting, 8 in opposition, and 6 were kind of neutral. So just going back and I used to play football. We used to say like, watch the tape. So go back and understand of those people who are neutral, what did they say? Why did they say it? Were they silent? And then really kind of working on each council member individually or each person, and then in trying to really understand why they're taking that position, and that will help you kind of convert them one to one over to the side that you're hoping they'll vote on. So just doing a little bit of like oppo research, as they say, to understand why people are taking positions, and then how can you make an argument specifically. So that was a really good discussion. And Bruce, if you have anything to add, I think that was a really good discussion.
Bruce, would you like to add anything? I think he's still muted. I agree. That sounds like a very valuable discussion, and having these really concrete, actual challenges makes this theoretical discussion about advocacy very practical. So, thank you for going through those points. I would like to move on. I know we've just got a couple of minutes, and I want to be respectful of your time. We do have an exit poll that we would love for you to take. Jill, if you can put that up, we would just like for you to share your insights and kind of take the pulse of the room, so to speak, so we can get a sense for how prepared you feel to advocate now. So there's just 2 questions. The first is on a scale of 0 to 5. How interested are you in advocating at the local level? I think this group is pretty interested, but we'll see. And then how prepared do you feel?
Would you like your coaches to answer this as well?
The coaches do not need to answer, but if you wish, you may. You may.
You can guess what our answers are.
Yes, I feel that you are both very interested and prepared.
Yeah.
Great. I think, Jill, we can close that poll. And I will go on to just highlight a couple of resources that we have, as well as a few opportunities. All of these will be included in a follow-up email. We just finished our first year of a youth advisory council, and we are accepting applications. While I don't think we have any youth on this call, we would love for you to promote this to the youth in your lives. The group is open to 12 to 24-year-olds. We are also partnering with several other organizations to host an intergenerational climate roundtable. It'll be in person on July 11th in the morning at the County Department of Education's office in Redwood Shores. And finally, we've got links to these events and the resources, including the PCE rebate finder, which we showed earlier. We'll add them to the chat, and we will share them in a follow-up email. Thank you all for being here tonight. Thank you for your willingness to make your community a better place through advocacy. I want to thank our incredible coaches again who supported SSMC tonight, and also thank Peninsula Clean Energy for its sponsorship of the event. I hope you got a lot out of the evening, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your week. Thank you all for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity.